So, you want to see improvement within your already existing sniping skills, huh? Well, you've come to the right place. You see, over time, I've developed some sense of knowledge on how sniping works in bad business, and people have not aggro sniped as much as you might have seen nowadays within lobbies. Today, this, possibly again a views for this video, changes, as I'll give you guys the insight on how to improve on sniping within these advanced sniping tips. To start us off, I shall already assume that everyone is already decent enough to get 2 to 4 kills within a kill streak or 7 kills within a life or something. And if you have not known how to do that well, I suggest watching Wild Ace's video that features Lecton. It's a really great video to get you started on sniping, and I suggest it. There's also Wisp's take on the video too, so if you want to view that as well, be my guest. Also, thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. And even though I have already posted like 3 subscriber specials, and it's being my 4th one, there will be a 5th one coming up very soon, so stay tuned. Yeah. Before starting the 7 tips I have, you need to know what weapons you're going to use for sniping before actually trying out to come close towards this next chapter of your sniping career. You should obviously be comfortable with what snipers you have been already cool with before this video. If not, I highly suggest playing around with snipers as much as possible to see which one is your liking. In terms of general clipping standards that I will say within the future of this video, these are not required for clipping, but are just recommendations on how to stand out better compared to other general bad business montage creators, or just clippers in general. I would also like to say that within general standards, in my opinion, your selection doesn't matter, in which one-shot torsos will count as long as you hit a usable clip with it, and also as long as it's not like, one times optic BS or whatever. I will personally be fine with clips that have ACOG feeling AR. Might actually hurt my eyes, but it's a scope, so whatever. Lightweight scope and duplicate scope, and even iron sights as well, and even the default scope as well when it comes to choosing optics for snipers. I just like it better when optics are clean and not DMR like that's all. I highly suggest keeping any sniper scopes that you have on snipers, or basically default scopes. Otherwise, you're just gonna make snipers into DMRs at that point, which, hurts my eyes. Irons are okay too, also in terms of standards I have to say within this video. Subs are not usable, such as having a friend just stand there for the sake of a clip and you say a trick shot or what have you. That does not count. Also, in my opinion, I don't think hitting a clip on VIP servers are usable too, as clipping within strangers on clubs are even more impressive than, VIP servers. This is subject to change if you guys think this is unfair, and it could be justifiable. If you guys want to justify me within comments, that's fine too. Also, if you're comfortable with hitting a kill streak or basically 7 kills within a matter of seconds, then that's okay too if you want to stick with that. Pick this 110 mobility judge build, only exclusive for sniping. Trust me on this will help you a lot. As someone who has experienced many deaths just by sniping and trick shotting attempts alone, you can see why I love the secondary so much, that as this gives you better protection over other secondaries. However, if you really want to pick other secondaries, which I don't really recommend, or if you just want to use those for common trick shots, go right ahead. But you will get more deaths in the game, just saying. However, this is only if you care about maintaining your KPM/KD, because if you don't care about those, just stick to any secondary you want, honestly. It doesn't really matter. Reviewing back in what you might have already known, I've already spoken that you are able to hit a couple kills within a life, whether it's from aggro sniping or camping. You should have already also known on how to utilize basic movement by now, which should be decent enough, but not good enough to survive long enough when sniping, if you know what I'm saying. Also, you probably have knowledge on where spawns could possibly be within maps, which should be fairly obvious. But what if I can tell you that you can use these skills for these upcoming improvements? Leading to what I said from that, let's not waste any more time and dive into what I have to say on these 3 categories you're about to witness within these set of advanced tips: feeds, trick shots, and collaterals. Feeds in bad business are extremely tough compared to what you've seen in other Roblox FPS games besides the BSL that was Rightfall. Good lord, I hate sniping in that game so much that I even admitted it during my only montage on it. That was how bad it was. Anyways, back to the topic in bad business. There's a lot you must face when trying to hit a sniping feed, such as enemy movement and the enemy's aim that literally looks like they're the veteran bots from Call of Duty Black Ops 1. If you know what I'm talking about. But back to where I was saying, if you want to get better within this, here's what I highly suggest doing. There are 2 methods to go wrong there, and I'll tell you what those 2 methods are. But first, before I tell you guys these, it's highly well noted that to know that you should always know where the enemies will spawn, and also do your best to be one of those first people to spawn in by spawning quick as possible first, which pretty much, you know, if you don't know the basic key to spawn, is pretty much space, and if you spam space, you're gonna pretty much be like the first person to spawn in after intermission. Then rush towards the enemy spawn and find a good place to snipe enemies away and hope for the best that you survive. Now I got that out of the way. Like I said before, you could get around this by 2 methods. The first method is by applying con movement knowledge from red guns or weapons that are either auto burst and applying it to sniper movement. Pretty much like strafing, moving around, rushing and such. Even super jumping will work on this as well, but if you're actually looking into improving movement, I highly suggest strafing around like this to avoid any movements between each shot, or spamming super jumps as well. Spamming super jumps also helps if you want to dodge bullets that bad, and if you want to avoid gunfire better within, you know, constant sliding, I guess. And you can also slide midair while doing this at the same time. If you're able to do that, that also helps too. And while you do the movement, you can like shoot your sniper each time you have the chance, and you can actually be on your way into hitting your first feed if you're able to focus there. However, this doesn't actually give you that much focus in my opinion if you really don't know what you're doing, which leads us to our second method, which is highly recommended for players who aren't comfortable with movement. In this method, all you have to do is just stand still to focus and shoot when your time is up, and move around by sliding, slide canceling for another shot, and repeat. You might be familiar with this from Modern Warfare 2018, but that's just because it is like that, and if you do it that way, I think you'll do just fine. You don't have to do super jumps and stuff. In that way, you can pretty much get more focus into shooting enemies compared to losing focus when focusing too much on movement, if you know what I'm saying. When you focus more on aim, you'll feel like getting kills are much easier rather than tricky, if you know what I mean. And you may tank down your health from this, as in taking more damage within this method. However, I argue that this actually helps you aim better if you need the feeds, in my opinion. This can also be helped with, you know, strafing or moving sideways as scoping too. But I just just like standing still between each shots, then move around to hit another with more focus. And if you do this correctly, you'll be able to hit your first usable feed. Congrats. Usable is like a quad feed or above due to enemy movement. Aim nowadays being like very cracked nowadays. I just repeated that twice. My bad. And hitboxes being flat out tough to handle unless you use a one-shot towards a sniper if possible. Within your knowledge from what you can do about your aim, and if you improve your aim within this, you'll get this down pretty well. Yeah. And also, if you're gonna be one of those people with those 1 times optic, yeah, I wouldn't really call that sniping. Anyways, onto the next section. This is something fans of my channel or fans of any of the well-known trick shotters like Lerton, Wild Aces, Wildback, or what have you, have been waiting for. Trick shotting is pretty much simple in my opinion, and it is not that hard to do. If you've wondered how the mechanism works for this, it has changed drastically since MW2's peak trick shotting. Basically what I highly suggest first within this is like a 360. Now to understand the 360, you have to understand this. I highly suggest practicing all of this within the VIP server or you will get a lot of deaths. To get trick shotting drilled into your head, try spinning 360 on the ground first, and then try to do the same thing all over again until you're confident to try to get to a high ground, jump, spin, and spin the same sensitivity and shoot, Once you understood on how much your mouse is going to move within the 360, you then want to practice jumping off of a structure, trying to aim where you want to aim after 360. Hip fire wise, not ADS wise, because ADS, in my opinion, makes you generic, and it's really not that hard to ADS 360 trick shot. Literally. Once you get confident, after that, you're ready for the real challenge, the sniper hip fire. I highly suggest hip fire builds for snipers, but I think the best possible snipers for this would be either the DSR or rolling block rifle. All I can really say for these snipers are just put in as much hip fire attachments as possible, or you can just see what I put for my setups on the screen here. With that out of the way, let's talk about the real thing. Now, if you're actually going to try this out, do it like this. If you want to survive trying to hit a trick shot, jump strafing is highly recommended. Keep trying and trying all over again, or super jumping works too. Otherwise, you might, get more deaths than expected and have your KD drop, just like how Hotel Wi-Fi had his KD drop. Anyways, once you're out of the hellfire, you can start attempting. At any high grounds, you can try as much as possible before enemies chase after you and kill you. Use what you've learned from VIP servers and keep trying until you've hit your first trick shot. Yeah. If you want to go beyond, go right ahead. However, if you really want to learn some complex trick shots develop, or what the MW2 developed, you can watch this guide instead. 720s and further are 360s that we practiced. Not as much spins, but However, in this variant, you're pushing yourself to hit a much better trick shot clip. So yeah. After all this, feel free to be as creative as you want, whether it's a throwing knife trick shot or any of the combo trick shots I've never covered in this channel or what have you. Last but not least, for non-stops, I'm just going to say this, they're extremely hard to hit. However, if you are actually comfortable with the controller and you are able to resemble a non-stop, I highly suggest trying this alternative method instead. Within this method, all you have to do is use your keyboard for movement, and then after you avoided gunfire, you can start attempting trick shots. I'm not joking when I say this, but you can actually use both keyboard and controller if you know what you're doing. I highly suggest high sensitivity for controller or whatever sensitivity you were comfortable back in old trick shotting days. So yeah, you can do this by going to settings and moving around the settings with your analog stick with your controller. That way the game will tell what controls you're trying to adjust, in this case controller, and you're able to adjust from there. I'm not sure about controller binds, but it is what it is, I guess. After all of that, if you already know what you do best on IW4X or whatever, then use movement, get on the high ground, and do what you do best. That's it. Besides that, if you aren't one of those players, then just stay away like I had when I tried to trick shot with the controller. Trust me, it did not go well for me. Usable for this, well, are just 360s, as long as it's not point blank. The reason why it's still 360s is because the hipfire accuracy in bad business for trick shotting is atrocious and not good enough to be as good as Fan Force's trick shotting, therefore general standards being 360s. Yeah. Everyone knows that hitting a double collateral is something to be proud of. However, what if I told you that hitting a triple is even better? This is the hardest section I will ever cover in this video, but bear with me as this requires a lot of precision and luck. Back when collaterals were introduced, I used to freak out over collaterals, but as the game got easier to hit collaterals in, I got less interested when hitting a simple one, like, you know, 2 people in 1 bullet. Pushing me further to hit triples as my desires of clipping standards increased within collateral clips. To understand this better, you should not use any snipers that have piercing stats of 1. Or if they do have an option of, you know, FMJ on piercing stats of 1, then use that. And pretty much that's about it. If any other snipers have piercing 2+, that is good enough to hit at least a triple, then use that. Or if you want to be extremely crazy and try to hit even more collaterals, like a higher collateral count, like, I don't know, a quad or further, you can try using a sniper with max piercing of 4 to try to hit a 5-1. However, I doubt anyone will hit that anytime soon due to advanced enemy movement and aim. To try to hit a usable collateral clip, at least in my perspective, you have to understand where the enemies are going to line up easier. Basically what I mean is that you have to find some key positions that most likely enemies will appear on, whether it's from an alleyway or a narrow path that you can shoot from. Unless if we're talking patrol or collateral trick shots, you will need to know these points, or you're just gonna end up with a mindset knowing that it's too hard to hit one. But then again, if you don't give up, you're gonna end up thinking the opposite, where it's easier. My suggestion is to just keep playing on the maps until you realize where those points are, as in where enemies will line up easier and be able to be collateral easier at, if you know what I'm saying. The more you learn and develop your mindset on this, the better your luck is going to be. If you get lucky enough, you'll hit one. Or even a quad collateral, which again, I doubt anyone will hit, is actually going to hit at this point. However, if you're just flat lucky, you could just hit a triple out of nowhere and call it a day. That works too. Chain this with a feed, as in hitting a triple or a quad feed, or basically triple to a quad feed. Just makes your clip so much more impressive, which is possible, by the way. So yeah, again, the more you practice, the better you're gonna get within this. And the general standards for this is just a triple collateral anywhere, no matter how close, no matter how far. Unless you're going for a collateral trick shot, then just at least hit a triple collateral if you just want to stand out bigger compared to other clippers or any of the snipers or any of the general Babis montage creators. Yeah. And that's all I have to offer. Thanks for sitting back and listening to what I have to say on these tips, and I hope you learned something from this video. I had my mind thinking of what to say and what to give within these advanced sniping tips because I wanted to give further tips that can help you for the better. As there already exists bad business sniping tips and tutorials on how to do this, and how I wanted to help further by making an advanced set of tips compared to standard bad business sniping tips. So yeah, thanks again, and thank you everyone for 1,000 subscribers. 4 of the 1K subscriber special videos are now completed, and now coming up next will be a montage. So like I said before, stay tuned. Besides that, hope to see you guys next time.